Do you know that only 30% of people have an inner monologue? This means a voice inside of their heads that speaks as they're going about their day. Now, to most people, this will seem quite normal. This is how they live their lives. They walk around and there's a voice chattering. And if they hear that there's people out there who don't have a voice in their heads, they get flabbergasted. Are these people stupid? Are these the people that are ruining our democracies, who aren't capable of making decisions? Why do these people exist? Why don't we put them in slave camps? We need to remove them from the social contract. In fact, on X, a gentleman called Champagne Joshi put up an interview of a woman who did not have an inner monologue. And a lot of people saw this and they proudly laughed. Oh, look, an NPC. Some dolt with no brain. Unlike me with my massive inner voice. Heavy is the burden of my genius possessing an inner voice capable of thinking. Now, this actually was an incident of these people telling on themselves, revealing themselves as midwits, as not understanding the profoundness of the human mind. You see, there's many very smart people who don't have an inner voice, who don't need to verbalize concepts in their heads in order to do high-level thinking. Mathematics is a great example of this. I met a mathematician before, and I'm not very good at maths, so I asked them, what is it like to do maths? And I would imagine it must be like calculator stuff, square and circle and all this. And they explained to me that it was like visualizing shapes, geometry, imagining these graphs with all these points on them, and then the numbers represent points and they craft this object in their heads. And I was thinking to myself, that doesn't sound like maths, that sounds like art. But they're like, no, this is what it's like at the very high level. I also met a very talented computer programmer once, and you'd imagine that has to be a voice in your head commanding you to tell the computer to do things. It has to be this way. But he explained to me that computer programming is like architecture. You have to imagine the software program that you're building as this giant house, and you're creating the blueprint, and all of your phrases and all of your shapes and forms are supposed to move into these different rooms, and this process is supposed to connect up with this part of the house. It's a three-dimensional object that you have to put inside of your mind, and that really floored me. That's a style of thinking I just didn't understand is possible within computer programming. Now, what does this mean? It means that having a voice inside of your head is not a direct measurement of intelligence. Our brains are literally split into two hemispheres, and one of these hemispheres is language dominant. The other one is visuospatial dominant. Now, it doesn't mean either of these is better. It doesn't mean that one side makes you logical, one side makes you an artist. It just means that within these two hemispheres, we have these faculties. Most people will be able to use both of these faculties, but it's not uncommon for some people to have only one capacity. They are only able to hear sounds and voices and words inside of their heads. They're not able to imagine things. I've actually met loads of people like this. They have no imagination at all. And then other people are the complete opposites. They have a full and rich imagination, but they don't have an inner monologue. Now, this doesn't mean either side is stupid. It just means that their brain is tilted in a very unusual way. So tell me, my friends, in what way do you think? Are you a word processor? Do you tend to go more towards visualization? Are you able to do both very well? Or most importantly, are you sophisticated enough to be able to imagine what the other side's consciousness might be like?